Hello, folks. So I'm sure you have seen a lot of videos on how to build a real-time chat room in YouTube. But in this video, I will show you something rare, which you will find but not find that much, and that is how to build one-on-one chat application in YouTube. We will start by doing one high-level system design, and then we will get right back into coding. So, without wasting any time, let's get started. So now we will do one high-level system design of the app we are building today, and that is one private messaging app. So first of all, the app will be having one server. So let's say this is our server. So let me just write server over here. Let me also increase the size. And now we will be having some clients. So ideally there could be many clients, but here let me draw one big client and some other smaller clients. So let's say this is another client and this is another. Now this thing shouldn't be taken literally. Like maybe this is one laptop and these two are mobile, so they are smaller in size. But the issue is the demonstration over here. So let me simply name this one as C1 and the other two could be C2 and C3. So copy and then paste. This one will be C2 and this one will be C3. So now ideally what will the client have? So this is one laptop. So the first of all, the client will be having one, let's say register page. So let's say this is one page they will be getting. This is the register page. And once they register, they will be getting some page like where they can chat. So let me just name reg over here because this is the register page. I mean, reg is fine. And then we will have another page that we will get once we register. So the register in this case can be as simple as simply giving your username, or in case of more complex app, it can be like the registration in the sense you were saving your credentials, something like that. But the idea is that only. So once we register, we will get to the chat page. So when we are registering, we don't want to be connected to the server because who knows we will register or not. So when we have the register page only, that is not a sufficient condition to connect to our server. So when we are joining to the chat room, at that time, what we want to do is we want to connect to our server. So let's say this page will connect to the server. And what are the things that this page will send to the server? Since we are connecting, we should be sending few things, right? So before going there are few things the register page will be sending to the chat first. And those things are, if I can maybe write here, not sure if there is a space, but you can understand, there will be few things. So let me just write here. The first thing that they will send is the username. Username. This is the first thing that the register page will be sending the chat page. And the second thing that they will send is the user ID. So whenever we are registering, we will create some user ID, and that is something they will send to the chat. And maybe a better way to visualize this is to create a bigger arrow, something like this. Something like this. So these are the two things that is being sent. And then the chat, what the chat will do is the chat will be sending the same two things to the server. I don't see any additional things sending there. So they will be sending these two same things to the server. Now, what the server wants to do. So let's say this chat, everybody has access to the chat. So what happens is when C1 registers, C2 and C3 should know that C1 exists and then they can chat with them. So what will happen is the server will send these things to everybody that somebody has connected, like C1 has connected. So the server will then basically send this thing to C1 and send the same thing to C2 also. So let's say they are sending the same thing to C2 and they will be sending back the same thing to like our old user also. So this guy also. So now what happens is our server has something called users. So let me just draw a few more things here. So this is, let's say, one database inside the server. I'm not sure if database is the right word or not, but the server will be having some data. So this data will be named as, let's say, users. And this users will be containing the information about everybody. So in this case, they will be containing when C1 connects, they will contain C1. C1 basically means the username and user ID of C1. And then they will contain C2. Then they will contain C3. Whatever. Dot, dot, dot. So, and then what the server does is they are sending the same things to C2 and C3. So basically this C2 and C3 everybody will be having one copy of the users. So these users C2 will have, C3 will also have, C1 will also have. Now what will happen is let's say in the chat page I will be having all the users. So now let me just create the chat page in little bit bigger because we need space to describe the chat also. So we have the chat, and here let's say on the left hand side we have the, let's say, our users. So the users so here below the users we will be having our C1, C2 and everybody. So let me just copy. No need to copy. Let me, I can simply write it like that. So we will have C1 here, C2 here, and C3 here, and dot dot dot. And let's say on the other side, there will be this chat room, and this is the chat room, and here is the maybe our message box or other things. So now, whenever we are clicking on, let's say C1, we should be able to send message to C1. So how the messaging works, that is now the bigger question. So whenever we are, let's say, clicking on C2, what we should do is we should like take a notice of who is the sender. Like not who is the sender, like who is the receiver. So whenever I'm clicking on C1, let's say I am C10 maybe, and I'm clicking on C1. So C1 becomes my receiver, and myself becomes the sender. So here we will have access to a few more things. So let's say let me just take the example of C1 only. So I will be having, whenever I'm clicking on somebody, I will be having one record of the sender. And then whenever I'm typing something in the chat box, I will also be having one message. So after the sender, I will be having the message. And I myself is the user. So I will have user, that is myself. I will have the sender, and I will also have the message. So this is something that I will be sending once again to the server. So let's say I have this arrow, and this is something I'm sending to the server once again. So this is another form of communication. So first of all, I will be sharing the username and user ID. That is when C1 is connecting. And then when C1 is sharing some message, we will be sharing this kind of data, user, sender, and message. And let's say this message is directed for C2. So let's say sender, not sender, actually. Actually, this should be receiver, not sender. The user is the sender. My bad. Sender, receiver, and then message. So let's say in this case, the receiver is C2. Or let's say C3. So in this case, what will happen is this whole thing will go back to the server, and the server will not really be having one storage for the messages. What the server will do will it will have an event for the messages. So now there will be some server side validation, basically for whoever is the like sender and receiver for those things. So let's say validation mm, for users, something like that. And what will happen is they know that the receiver is C3, so they will not be sending anything to C3. So instead, they will be sending this whole thing to, I mean, they will not be sending anything to C2, they will be sending this whole thing to C3. So sender in this case is, we already know it's C1. So here also there will be some C1. And in this way, the receiver will receive the this same thing again. And whenever somebody else is like sharing something, so let's say C2 is sharing something to C3, this it will follow the same format. So the same thing again, and it will go here. The validation will happen, and again similarly it will go to C3, like it will receive another message. So this is like one high level overview, like what are the things that are happening here. So this is something that we will now be coding. So let's get into our VS Code now. So in my VS Code, I have created one client folder and a server folder. And I will start working from the client folder first and create one basic UI. And I have also initialized Tailwind CSS to develop quickly. Now here I only have one div and private messaging app. Let me simply remove it. And here I will first of all create one div. And inside the div, I will create another div for the heading. So let me just give text to Excel. And let me simply write welcome to the chat. Please register. Okay. And then I want my input. So input type is text, placeholder, enter, your awesome username. Now that sounds pretty cool. And then we will have a button for joining. That's it. Now these things are fine, but maybe we should add some styles also because right now these things look very bland. Okay, so here let me just give flex and then flex call and then maybe gap of 4. We should also give some padding top, maybe padding top of 4 and padding bottom of 16 because we want to give some background color also. So BG gray of 200. Okay, good. And now for the text to Excel, that is fine. Maybe I should give text center also. Better, better. Now for this one, maybe I will simply do one last name and width will be 2/3. And this thing should also be centered. So now that thing has not happened because I have to do items center. Okay. Maybe I should also increase the text size. So text Excel. And for the button join also, let me simply give one class name and BG, what kind of BG we want? Let me simply make it black, cannot think too much. So text will be white automatically, and maybe borders will be rounded a little bit. So rounded large and padding of 2. Also text Excel. And maybe when we are hovering, maybe we want some opacity. So opacity will be opacity 75 maybe. So now we have this effect. It's too much, I guess. It's 85 is fine. Yeah, too less. I think it's fine. So we have our register page, basic register page, but now this doesn't work. So to make it work, I have to like create few state variables and like write some logic. So first of all, I want user input and then set user input because I want user to give some input, right? So to set that thing, we need these things at the very least. So use state, it will be initialized to an empty string and these things will be set at the input. So value will be user input and then we will have an on change. It will have access to E and then I want to change this user input to E dot target dot value. Very simple React input stuff. So all of these things are fine. And one more thing is there, and that is in the button on flick, there should be one function. So when I'm clicking on the button, there should be a function. Let's call it join room. And that's it. So we have to declare that function. We will write that function later. So function join room. If we don't do this thing, there will be error. So better do these things right now only. So yeah, we have these things ready, but this is not our main page. This is only our register page. Now we have to create our main page also. But before doing that, there is actually one condition, and that is only when we have no user. This is like the first page. So when user haven't put in their username, we will see this page. Otherwise, we will see the other page. So when user is not present, we want that this page to be shown. So for doing that, let me also just create another state variable. I will name it user and then set user. And this thing will be little bit complex, not too much, little bit. So used it will be initialized to not an empty object with few fields which have empty values. So first thing will be username. This will be empty. And the second thing will be my user ID that I want to give when people are joining rooms. Then we will have one room ID. Maybe this is not really required. We can manage by other means, but let's add it for now. And lastly, we will also have one socket ID when we are like trying to talk with the backend. So this is the basic stuff. And then what we want to do is only when, let's say, we don't have a username, we want this page to be shown. So if my not user dot username, only then you will show this page, otherwise you will show something else. So let me just minimize it and keep it here. And after this, let me just do the regular return. So return um like the fragments once again and text Excel. Let me write the chat page. Let's see if it works or not. So right now it is not working because for somehow it is taking this thing. And why is that? Why is this taking this thing? This should be ideally empty, right? And that is because, yeah, it's empty. That's why. So what we have to do is, for the time being, let me just do it false. So now we have the chat page. Okay. Actually, this is inside, so it should be outside. Okay. So we have the chat page now. And now we want to like basically write things in our chat page. So we will first create one super div that is div of all divs. And we don't really need this chat page because we want to write a different heading. And we will write, let me also give text to Excel so that it's a little bit bigger. And welcome. And whoever is the user. So user dot username. So for now it's welcome blank, but we will have some names when we write, actually give names. So anyway, and then what do we want? So on the left hand side, we want all our users, so like whoever has like registered. And then on the right hand side at the top, we want basically our chat container. And at the bottom, we want like our message bar and our send button. That's it. So how can we do that? Very simple. Like it's a kind of like HTML only. So maybe I shouldn't even tell you. You can already do it by yourself. Okay, anyway, for the sake of recording this video, let me just create few things. So one div, top level div, you can say, and then inside, let's say this is my left part. So here I will write, let's say, buddies. So my buddies will be stored here, and below my buddies, I have to like maybe list all our buddies. So let's say that is stored in users. Now we don't have any users, so maybe at the top we should create one users. So after my regular user, I will create users and then set users. And I think the spellings are messed up over here. Use state. Oh, there are too many typos. Okay, use state, and for now this can be one empty array. Uh, and we want users dot map, and we will have access to one user. Let's call the user as you, and we will also have an index. This is required, otherwise, like React will start yelling that every child should have a key or something like that. So, okay, anyway, now that we have you, we will first of all check that whether we are checking our own username or not. Like, we don't want our own username to be listed over here. Although, like WhatsApp and some other chat apps today, like have these things, but this is little old-fashioned app. So let's say I don't want my own name. So first of all, I will filter that my own name is not over there. So u dot user ID should not be equal to my user dot user ID. So what did we do over here? Is that we are iterating through the users array. And let's say I'm a client and I'm checking that the user ID associated with this u is not same as the user ID I have for this user. We could have also checked for username, but two people can have the same username. That is why we are checking something unique, and that is user ID. So that is what we are doing in short. So we are filtering by this, and after that, we basically want to return our basically you, not you. We want to return one div with the let's say username. So again, u dot username. Now there is some errors, I think. So property username doesn't exist on type never. So I think this is some TypeScript issue because sometimes we may not be able to find these things. So that is why it's better to simply like use one question mark, and that is so that it checks whether this username actually exists or not, and so that TypeScript doesn't start yelling at us once again. So yeah, so this is a like very short what we are doing for our buddies, like for our left section. Now we will go to create our like main chat container. So that will be another div, and that will be outside this div. So this div is up to here, so that will be here. So this chat container will contain many things. So first of all, let me inside we will create one chat with some, let's say, some predefined width. So width will be, let's say, 350 pixel. And so that it's visible, I want to do one border to, and then border black. Now at least it's clear that where is our chat. And after this width, I will also give some defined height. So 350 pixel. Now this defined things may like irritate some of you that normal chat apps don't really have these things defined. But the UI is not really the focus of this video. Like we can make better UI also. Maybe I have to create separate videos for that because even frankly speaking, I am not very good at UI. So anyway, whatever we have, let's try to build up over that. So we have some basic container. It looks terrible, but at least we have something. And inside, I want some messages. So inside, let's say I have some chat, and from the chat, I want to render our messages. Now we are getting lots of weird suggestions because we don't really have a chat at the top. So here, what I will do is I will do one const chat and then set chat. And this is where we will store all of our messages. And for now, this will be another use state with an empty array. So now we will have access to the chat here. And we want to do chat.map. And then inside, we will have access to our individual messages and also like the index. So same thing we will do once again. So message index. And now we basically want to do the same thing, that is return our chats. And there are also a few more things that we need to check. That is whether we are the same user or not. So because this is one like individual chat app, like not individual in the sense, I mean private chat app. So what happens is like in this app, what I'm doing is I am getting all the chat messages and I am filtering on the client side based on like whoever is the user. So some sort of like client side validation need to be done, like some conditions I'm saying. So that part, let's say we will do later because there are a lot more things to be done for that. And but what we will simply do is for now return one message. So return, and let's say this will be one div once again. And yeah, we should give the key. Otherwise, React will start yelling. Every whatever is that you already know. Like I'm sure, like me, you have also seen that many times. And here also we should actually give the key. We actually forgot while writing the div. So okay, anyway, so here I will be having our chat, and let's say the chat will be message dot message, something like this. I'm assuming this will be something like this for now. So to get no errors, let me just give one like question mark so that it asks first, do you exist? If no, then no errors, otherwise errors. Okay, anyway. Now let's also give some class name, like some decoration to this one. For now, let me just give one high. Actually, this will not work because the chat container is empty. Okay, so maybe when we have our app ready, we will check these things. But ideally, it should be something like this. And lastly, the last part is we have to like create our like input and buttons and all of those things. So that will be very simple actually. Another div, and here we will have input and placeholder will be enter your message. Nothing very cool, but very generic. And it will also have some value and some placeholder also. Sorry, not placeholder. We have already given that on change. So we need to give these things. So at the top, once again, we will create. And let me also simply close this return for now. It's taking a lot of space. So after the set chat, let me just create another state variable. I will name it input and then set input. And this will be one use state initialized to an empty string, and we have lots of errors because of why we already know, and that is this one should be input. That will be the input text, and this will have access to e and the same react input stuff once again. So set input and then e dot target dot value. Okay, and now lastly we will have a button. So button will be send. That's it. And I am a little bit lazy, so I will simply copy the whatever styles we have created for the other button. So maybe I will simply change the color. So I will copy this whole thing, and maybe instead of black, I will make it green. Okay, send buttons are generally in green. So this thing is fine. Only thing is it should be BG green. 500. It's too bright, maybe 600. Okay, fine. Looks good to me. Now let's also align these things a little bit, and then I think we will be done. So first of all, I want the buddies and my chat container and everything to be aligned like horizontally. So I will have a flex over here. And why is the flex not working? Because this flex contains the buddies, and inside the buddies, actually, this is part of this thing. So the flex should be more at the top. Actually, I think the alignment is not correct. That is why. So, yeah, what we need to do is actually create another div over here, and this div will wrap everything. So then we will have the correct things. So this div will be ending here. And now in that div, if I write flex, now as you can see, this works. And also for this one, let me just give width of 1 by 4. 1 by 4 is fine for this. Uh, yeah, I mean, let's not worry too much about that. And also, let me just give some colors maybe. Um, so BG of it can be, let's say, YOLO of 200. And let's also do one rounded of like, let's make the borders rounded and also some gap of 2. Okay, gap of 2 should be at the top, not here. So flex gap of 2. And everything, let's try to align at the center. So actually, let's not try to break things. So I will simply do text center over here. And also PT of 4, PY of 4, like just making some weird style adjustments. And this bodies should be also at the center and this should be a little bit large. So text XL and then text center. Okay, fine. And then maybe we can have an underline also. So underline. I'm not sure if this looks good or not, but maybe for now it's fine. For now, maybe P of PB of 2. Actually, it doesn't take up any space. So, okay, it's simply one underline to make itself known. I really have to work on my UI skills also before making these videos. Okay, anyway, let's try to create some things first. And we will also move back to our server. Like, I think that is also something we are ignoring for quite some time. Okay, so we have our buddies, and now we have this chat app, I mean, chat container. So in the chat container, also, let me just give some colors. So BG, it could be, let's say, blue of 200. Fine. And the messages could be in dark blue. I think this much style is fine for now. And at the top, let me just give flex and then flex call and then gap of 2 so that we have little bit gap. And also for the input, let me just create another class. This class will let's give it some border and then shadow MD so that at least it's visible where it is. It should also have text Excel and maybe P of 1. And actually, this thing should also have flex and gap of 2 so that I mean actually it gets some space. And maybe the send button shouldn't have P2. P1 is fine for now. I mean it's taking too much space. So P1, maybe PY1 and PX2, whatever is there. So okay, anyway. So now the important part is that we will write some message here, click on the send, and then it should go. It should go wherever, like to the other user or wherever. And that is actually the main part. Like these things are not even the primary focus. So there should be another on click here, and this will be one send message. And we have to create some send message at the top once again, otherwise it will throw some errors. Like there are a lot more things to be done here. But before doing any of that, it's important to start working on our server. Otherwise, nothing will work on the client. So let's get back to my favorite part, and that is the backend. So we have an empty index.js here for now, because empty, it will no longer be empty. So we will start by importing the server from our socket.io. I have already installed all the dependencies, so maybe you should also. And then I will do const io equals to new server. The port will be as usual 3000, and I have to enable CORS. So CORS and then origin. Let's give a wildcard so that it allows anything and everything. Okay. Now we will start by doing start by detecting the connection. So connection io actually this is not connection, this is on. And then connection is a string. So connection, and then we will have access to one socket. This should be smallest socket. Like this is one variable only socket. I can also name it S or anything. Domino's Pizza. Okay. So once we have the socket, we should be getting few information. And what I will generally do is send some message first. So I will do socket dot emit, and the type will be first message, and I'll write first message from server. Now I have to receive this thing at my app.tsx. So how can I receive it? By using one, not one, by using many things, frankly speaking. So I have to first of all like import socket IO client, which is also installed. So import IO from socket IO client, and then also I think we need v4 from UUID. And this will like create our IDs. That's it. And now let me just create the endpoint. That is our server. And the endpoint is, as we already know, HTTP localhost 3000. That's where our server is at. And I will also simply initialize one socket, but won't assign any values as of now. Now I have lots of things here. What I want to do right now is create one use effect. So use effect snippet, where is that? I think I'm not getting that. So anyway, I will have a use effect like this, and let's say it will only execute for once. And here I will try to receive it. So before receiving, I have to like create our socket. So socket IO, it will consume the endpoint. And now let me try to receive the first message. First message, and whatever is the data that comes, I simply want it logged. That's it. So log my data, and I think that's it for now. So let me just refresh. Actually, nothing is working for now because the server is not running, and I will run it using node 1 so that I don't have to refresh one again and again. So as you can see, we have first message from server. Let me just refresh, and we have first message from server. So our communication from the server to client is established. And that's good. This is actually very simple. There is nothing complicated over here, but we will do the complex stuff now. So, what are the things that we want to do? First of all, now let's go back to our register page once again. This thing should no longer be false because that is where everything starts. This is where it all began. So, username. I will go back to this page once again. So, first of all, I will start by writing my join room function. So what do we want here? That is very simple actually. We simply want to set our user. So I will do set user, and inside I want to give two names. One is the username and the other is the user ID. And the room ID and the socket ID will remain blank. So what I will do is I will simply destructure my user, and then I will simply do username is equals to whatever username I have given as input. So that is basically our user input, and my user ID is something that I will get invoking the v4. So, and actually this should be destructured user, not user ID. So this is what we want in the join room. And only to confirm that we are getting what we have written, I will simply log user over here. Let me simply write my name, Arya. And as you can see, okay, I think this is because this set user function is taking some time to be set, and that's why this user is not yet coming. So what I will simply do is something like this. I will change this thing to user. So only if user is changing, I will be invoking the use effect, and here at the top, I will simply write my user. So as you can see, my username is Arya and user ID is some ID I'm getting. If I refresh, it will go back to the same page once again, and that is actually correct. So now another thing to notice is that this use effect should actually run whenever we have given the input. Like I don't want my socket connection to form from the register page. It should form when I have clicked on the join. So I can simply do one validation over here, and that is only when my user exists. And how to check that? And to be more specific, only when user.username exists or user ID also. I mean, anything is fine. But this is the point when I want to basically connect with our server. That's it. So now this is the situation. Now, if I now refresh, as you can see, we are not getting the first message. Now, let me join the room once again. And now we are getting the first message. So that means this part of the code is working. So now, when we look at our our state variables, the job of user input is done, and the job of the set user is also half done. Now we have to work on the other things. What I want to do is send our user to the backend when they are registering. And that is something we can do by writing something like this after the endpoint. And we have to send one query. So in curly braces, I will write query. And inside the query, I will basically destructure my user and send it. And now you will see this is something that we can get in our backend. So let me also close the left section so that things become a little bit more clear. And here we will log these things out. So what we will do is first of all, we will get our user from the socket dot handshake dot query. And now if I simply log my user and let me also, and as you can see, we are getting few things. So we are getting aria and these things. So let me simply refresh and let me give a different name, Arta. And now you will get that. So Arta and with a different user ID is has joined. So this is what we can get over here, and then we have to write some functions in the backend. Like we will see what we will do. Let's not talk much about it and like write the code. So and one more thing is the user has some user ID. I mean not user ID. I mean socket ID. That there we can assign the socket.id that we already have. So these things are done. So let's not console log the user now. I mean, we already know what is there. And we will also remove the socket element, but maybe not now, later. And now what we need to do is create a some kind of array of users so that we can push our user over there. So users dot push user, and these users need to be created at the top. So users equals to an empty array, and that's it. And now when our user is connected, we want to send that message to the backend. And also when the user is disconnected, we also want to send that. So what we can do is we can do io.emit and we will send one event, and that is when our user is connected to everybody. So let me just name this event as user connected, and we will send all our users to everybody so that there is no confusion. Also, when one client disconnects, we will receive that in the backend, and we will receive it as socket.on and disconnect. This is already one predefined event, disconnect. Yeah. And we also want to send this information to everybody that, we have one less user now. So how can we do that? So we basically have to remove our users, like the that particular user, which is who has this particular socket ID from this users array, and then our job will be done, which is actually not that complex. So we have our access to our users, and here we will do users dot filter. We will have access to one u, and in the u we basically want to check what is our socket id, and only when my u dot socket id is not equals to my current socket id, that is socket.id, we want to return the u. So another users array will form with basically one less user, and then what we want to do is basically send this to everybody. So again io.emit, and we will have access to let's name the event as user disconnected, and let's send the users once again. So that is what we are doing, very simple stuff. And what we have to do is do the same thing inside our use effect in the front end, so that at least we are getting that what is happening. That's it. So we have our first message, and then we want to receive few more things. So we want to receive socket.on, and we want to receive, let's say, my user connected, and it will have some data. For now, let me simply log my data. We can later assign this to our users, and we will also have on another socket.on, and this one will be user disconnected and data once again, and we will log my data. I'm still feeling there will be some issue because we are only running the use effect when the user is being changed. But here a lot more things are being changed. So it may not run, but let's see what happens. So let me just create few more tabs. So this one, another one, And let me just create another one. Let's also simply, okay, Arya, join. So we are getting welcome Arya, and we are also getting some few things from the backend. I'm not sure what is this one. This one is the users, definitely. So when we are getting connected, maybe this is the one that we are getting. Okay, now let me join as Arta, and let me just open the console. And we have array 2, so we have Arya and Arta. And now let me join as my good name, Dipto. Let's check the other consoles also, because we have, yeah, so I think this works fine. So we can actually do with it. Also another thing, let me just disconnect one and we are getting two. So this thing works. So what we can simply do is basically do our set users, and inside we can simply do the data, like set the data, because that is what we want. So set users once again and set as the data. And as you can see here, we have Arta and Arta. So simply refresh Arya, join. We have nobody because there is one validation, I suppose, so that when my particular username comes, we don't show that. Yeah. So basically, Arya will not come. So if I do Arta, no. So Arta has Arya and Arya has Arta. So that means it works. Now, additional things we have to set, and that is we should be able to select them for sending message, and then we have to send message also. So maybe we need another function, and that function will be named as function select room. Let's assume that two people are forming one chat room, so we should be able to select some rooms. And then, um, where should we do that? So we have somewhere users, and like not users, I mean our buddies. And here we have this key, that key, whatever, whatever. Here, what we can do is we can write one on click, and here this on click will do the select room. And the select room, I believe, should also be getting our U, because we want to know which room we are selecting. So we will have access to, okay, I think this is fine. I will simply pass a U. And now let's write these two functions, and then our front end part will be mostly done. Maybe few more things are still required, but mostly done, as you can say. So we have access to the U in our select room. And then when we have access, what we want to do is we don't want to do much. Actually, we want to create another state variable. Let's name this state as room, and then set room, and use state, it will be initialized to one empty string. And now I basically want to set my room. So I will set room, and I will set my U. So this is my current room that is selected. So I think that is fine. Okay, one more thing. Let me simply log this thing here so that things become a little bit clear that what we are getting or not getting. So Arya, and actually I believe because we have multiple instances, so I mean this thing will not be happening when we have our final app. Also, let me just select Dipto. Okay, so now let me click on Dipto, and as you can see, we have username Dipto and user ID, and whatever, like socket ID, everything we have. I mean, things that are associated with that particular user, we have this thing. So I think that is fine for now. And now in our send message, what we want to do is we want to send few things. So socket.emit, and this emit message, I mean, first of all, event name will be, let's say, send chat message. And then we want to send actually we want to send a lot of things. First of all, we want to send one use like one sender, and the sender is actually me. So me, that is the user. And then we also want to send one receiver, and that receiver is actually the room, basically whoever I have selected. And then I want to send a message, and that message is basically my input. So I think that is fine for now. And after we have sent something, so for example, ABCD, send. So after this thing should be cleared out. So set input as an empty string. So whenever I'm clicking on like send, it becomes empty. But maybe I can comment it for now. Like it becomes easier to test rather than writing like so many lines every time. So I think that is fine for now. Now we have to receive these things in the backend and then do appropriate actions. So in our backend, the now the what happens is we are basically sending user connected and disconnected. We are not yet handling the chat. So now we have to handle the chat, and then we will see like how to send chat messages to specific users and not to everybody, that we have already seen in the other videos. Okay, so we will do one socket.on and we will receive the send chat message. And then what we want to do is we also want to pass few things. So actually not pass, I mean data is something we are receiving from the client, which has the sender, receiver, and everything. Let me log the data. So anything I'm passing. Also, I think there are a few more logs, so I will simply remove that. Is there other logs? Console, only one. Okay, fine then. What I will do is let me send ABC, and we are receiving ABC. So right now, the sender is Arya, and we don't have a receiver, I think. So let me click on Dipto, send again. So sender is Arya. For some reason, we are not yet getting the receiver. Um, why the receiver is we are not getting? Let me just try to understand. Let me just refresh everything and join once again, because ideally we should be getting the receivers. We are, let me just check once. We are selecting the room, and let me, Arya, Arta, and Dipto. Okay, good. Now let me click on Dipto. So we have user ID, everything we have. And also this is being console log you. So here we are getting everything. And then let me write one message, ABC. And now I am clicking on my send message. So it should go. Yeah, the reason we are not getting is we are sending the set room. It should be roomed. Okay, because we have saved, some issues happened and we got two more, but the final app will not be saved. That is something we can assume. So there will be no issues there. And also it should be room, not tomb. Okay. Now things look really messed up. Is there other tombs also? Let me just check once. There should not be other tombs. There should be one tomb only. Um, so on click we are doing select room, that is fine. So inside my select room, I am set room, doing the set room to you, and I think this is fine for now. No issues will be there. So I have to join once again, looks like Arya. Okay, select Pradipto, ABC, send. And as we can see, we have received few things. Let's see we get the receiver or not. Yeah, we got the receiver. So receiver is Zipto with user ID this, socket ID this, and we also have some sender. So fine, we are like at least receiving. So now we will go to our index.js and now we will send what we have received. So what we want to do is we want to send these to both the users. So we want to send to our like Wipro as well as Arya, like both the sender and receiver, so that it becomes a little bit clear to track our messages in the client side. So what I will do is IO, and actually what I want to do is I want to send to specific rooms. So I have to use IO.2. But before doing that, what we have to do is we have to like create some rooms. So there is a concept of rooms in socket.io, using which we can send our message to like specific, like what should I say, specific rooms. So anyway, so whenever one user is joining the chat, we have the socket and we are setting these things. That's fine. What I want to do is basically I want my socket to join one specific room. So everybody that joins, I want to join them to the room named user.user ID. So basically, I will be tracking them by their user ID and not really the socket ID. This will become handy because ideally in my client side we don't have the socket ID. We have created this one, but actually there are times we are not setting it. I mean, it's up to you actually. Like I'm doing it like this, but you can also use the socket ID. I mean, it's just a different approach. That's it. So okay, anyway, I am joining this room, and now I will be, what I will be doing is I will be sending these things to my data.sender. dot user ID. This is one place. And also, okay, let me just write this thing first. So I will send this to this user ID. And then what I want to emit. I want to emit one chat message. And here, what I will do is I will send something very similar. And that is who is sender, who is receiver, and who is what. So my sender will be my data dot sender. My receiver will be my data dot receiver, and my message will be my data dot message. That's it. And now I want to basically do the same thing to my receiver. So here I will be doing kind of the same thing. Instead of data dot sender, this will be data dot receiver. And so what this does is it will basically send to only two people, sender and receiver, and other things will be just the same. So now we have to receive this thing in our app.tsx, and then the rest of the things we can manage in our client. So we have our app.tsx here, and we have the use effect here. So I will write socket.on, and here I will receive my chat message. And when received, for now, let me simply console log, and then we can do the rest. So data. And now everything seems to be not working. Okay, it works once again, which is good because ideally our app shouldn't have any errors. So let me join as Arya here, Arta here, and Dipto here. So I will send some message to Arya. Let me write, hi Arya, send, and see we have something here. So sender is Dipto, which is correct, and receiver is Arya, which is also correct. And what is my message? Message. Yeah, message is hi Arya. That is correct. Now this one is Arya here. So let me just open the console. And here I haven't yet received anything, which is worrying. Let me write hi Dipto. Send. So sender is let's see. Sender is Arya. Receiver is blank, which is worrying, and message is hi Dipto. So that means few things are not working. So what seems to be not working? Let me try to send some message to Arta. So Arta, send. Let's see. So hi Arta, receiver is Arta, sender is Dipto. Fine. And does Arta receive anything? Yeah, Arta is also receiving. So username, receiver is Arta, sender is Dipto. Let me write hi Dipto. Send. So sender is hmm. So I think I'm getting the issue, kind of. So sender is Arta, receiver is Dipto. That is something we are not getting. And that is because, see, what happens is when you have a WhatsApp or something like that, what happens is you have to select. It's not like when you are getting something. So when I'm selecting Dipto, now I'm sending Dipto. Now we are getting. So this is not really an error. What we can do is like handle it in a better way in the client, and that we will do now. But ideally, this is not an error. I mean, this is fine. We have to select, that is correct. So what we can do is let me do things little bit better. So whenever we are like clicking on this, it should be displayed here so that we know that which room we are part of. So here let me wherever is our buddies, yeah, so here we have our buddies, and here we are doing the select room, but we are not doing any like any styles here, but that need to be done. So there should be one cursor pointer. So yeah, it becomes like a hand, and then there should be also one hover effect. So whenever doing one hover, the BG should be, BG should be YOLO 300. So that we know, at least we are selecting that guy. And let me also give some margin and padding so that things have little bit more space. So M1 and P1. I think this is too much. So maybe PX1. Yeah, I think this is fine. And maybe the buddies should also have some PY. So PY of 2 maybe. Oh, I think 1 is fine. So now that is fine. And one more thing is whenever we have selected some room, that is part of the room already. But what I want to do is I want to show at the top of the chat box also. So wherever I have my chat box, so we have our chat message over here, everything. So here I can do that. So here at the top, I will simply write um, chat with, sorry, not like this. It should be outside. Chat with, and here I will do room dot username. So chat with Dipto, and here I will be having something like text center, then one text LG also. Let's make it a little bit bigger, and also let's give an underline. So I think this is fine. So Arya, Dipto, and Arta is not here because I am Arta. Okay, so now things will be more clear. Um, okay, so now we have our things. What we need to do simply is basically instead of, I mean, we can console log, but we have to set it to our chat. So we have an empty chat. Yeah, set chat. Right now it's empty. So we need to set that over here. So set chat. This thing should be my data. Now things will start making more sense. So Arya joined, Arta also joined, and Dip joined. So here I will click on Arta and I will send, let's say, hi, send. Okay. So some issues here, and let me try to understand what are the issues. Chat.map is not a function. Chat.map is not a function. Chat.map is not a function. Strange, right? Because ideally chat.map should be a function. So the issue seems to be that, yeah, got the issue. So as you already know, this is our data, right? So this is one like object. This is not some array, but this my chat is actually an array. So we are trying to set my object to an array. So naturally there will be issues. So what we have to do is set using like little bit more style. Not style, I mean we should be wise when we are setting. So we will have access to the previous chat here, previous chat. And what I want to do is first of all spread the previous chat and then add our new chat as another object. So what I will do is inside one curly braces, I will spread out my data. That's it. Now these things will work. So let me clear everything out. Okay. They are saying that, I mean, they are saying some issues. I mean, TypeScript issues. I mean, it's fine. It will work for now. So Arya, okay, let me refresh 1 second so that, we have no repetitions. So here we have Arya, here we have Arta, and here we have Dipto. Great. So I will select Dipto. Hi, Dipto. Send. And as you can see, we are getting hi, Dipto. And Arta is not getting, but Dipto is getting. Let me send hi, Arya. Okay, I'm not chatting with anybody right now, so I will chat with Arya. I'm sending hi, Arya. And what do I get now? Here I am getting hi, Arya, and Arta is not getting anything. If I do, let's say, chat with Arta, now one issue you can already see is that I am still getting these things, and this is one client-side validation we have to do. But for now, let me just do hi, Arta, send, and as you can see, Arta is getting, and Wipro is not getting. So now what happens is in the client side, we have access to all the chat that I am doing, but these things are getting rendered in some other chat rooms. So it's like saying you're chatting with your mom, and we can you can also see whatever chats you have sent to your dad. Like your mom cannot see, but you can see. I mean, ideally you don't want that also. So but this kind of thing can be like handled with very simple client side validation, and there is no server jargon we have to do. Like we can simply call our index.jsda off. I mean, it's done. There is nothing else that we need done here. So this is something that I have discussed earlier, but I haven't done that, some client-side validation in our chat. But that is something we will do now because now that is required, and that is over here. So here we want to check that who is our sender and who is our receiver. And based on that, we want to basically return. We don't want everything. That's it. So here, what I will do is first of all, we are doing chat.map and we are checking by message. So we will first check. who is our like message dot sender, and this thing is will actually be above the return. So message dot sender dot user ID, this should be equal to my room dot user ID. This is one case, and the other case is the receiver's user ID should be the same as the room dot user ID. In other cases, we don't want this thing to be returned. Returned in the sense shown in the screen. Okay. So we will now check who is the receiver. So message dot receiver dot user ID. This should be equal to my room dot user ID dot user ID. And only in these cases you just return. Otherwise, don't. So let me just keep everything here. And now things will start making more sense. So let me just refresh everything. Arya, Arta, Victo. Okay. Let me send some message to Arta. Hi, Arta. So Arta is receiving, yeah, Arta is not receiving it right now because Arya has sent this message. So if I click on Dipto, I will be not getting it. If I click on Arya, I'm getting hi Arta. Now from Dipto side, let me send some message to Arta. Hi, Arta. This is Dipto. So now, uh, also I like things little bit more decorated. Although I'm not very good at UI, so I was just checking if there are multiple spaces over here or not. Okay, anyway, send. Hi Arta, this is Dipto. Now, when Arta is checking Arya's inbox, he can get hi Arya, Arta, and from Dipto, he's getting hi Arta, this is Dipto. And so, as you can see, this basically works. I mean, you can add more decoration, you can add maybe a few more things, and actually not you, even I will be adding few more things and will be making more and more videos like this. So but as you can see, you have got one-on-one chat room. Now you have already got the tutorial how to create the chat rooms, and now you also have one-on-one chat. So maybe you can combine the both and create some super chat app or something like that. So that is something you can do, like sky's the limit, since like basically you can combine multiple apps and build everything app or whatever you want. So anyway, enough talking. So that's it for this video. And if you have learned something new in this video, consider liking and subscribing to the channel, because this gives me a lot of motivation to create a lot more videos like this. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you with another exciting new video.